We love our sponsors like Foothill Transit who support our show. If you want to sponsor us, we will put you on the program and chat about you every once in a while.
Absolutely.
Now for the Morning Buzz, we are talking about the DNC.
Absolutely.
And there's one person who's not that happy about this. That's Donald Trump himself. In the city of brotherly love, not so happy.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that.
It looks like Trump is upset. He's accusing the Democrats of not bringing up the important issues, things like border control, border security, and ISIS. We have with us today a young conservative writer and political talk show producer, Andrew Mark Miller. Andrew, let's talk a little bit about this. Trump seemed a little hot under the collar. Tell us a little bit about what you saw in his response to the DNC.
Yeah, you know, it's not just Trump who's upset. It's a lot of American voters out there, right? I mean, immigration and terrorism, national security were not focal points of this convention. And we saw in Cleveland with the Republicans that was kind of front and center, and you barely heard about it. And I think that, you know, this election is going to come down to the economy, national security, and immigration. I mean, if you look at all these places around the world, England, they left the European Union almost entirely because of immigration. Sweden, Germany, these places are having massive problems with immigration. I mean, this isn't just an American thing. I think across the world, people are kind of thinking, you know, hey, maybe we should kind of have a say, you know, in controlling our borders.
Yeah, it is interesting though, as far as actually putting a wall up all throughout the country.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know that that's necessarily going to work, but the issues do need to be addressed, and that isn't something that they wanted to talk about at the convention for sure.
And national security as well. I mean, you almost didn't hear about it at all, which is, you know, frustrating to, I think, a lot of Americans who see these attacks that are happening, you know, at kind of a picked up pace, and they're wondering, you know, is that going to happen here? And I think people are scared.
Well, we continue to have shootings against police.
Yeah.
And demonstrators in the DNC still yelling out Black Lives Matter.
In the middle of a tribute to police officers last night.
Exactly.
I don't know if you caught that. I mean, it's really become divided in this country, and I think, you know, the voters are going to respond to that.
You know, traditionally we hear about like the very famous campaign poster in the Clinton campaign room ages ago that said, "It's the economy, stupid," where political people kind of discover that, hey, people will protest with their heart, but they ultimately vote with their wallet. Are we starting to see maybe the first election where that's going to shift? It seems like some of the issues that are most important to people seem to be less economic and more about some of these ancillary issues that you discuss. Is that the case?
Absolutely, and the economy is important. I mean, you know, the unemployment rate that the government gives us is down, and, you know, I know they tout that, but there's a lot of people out there who aren't really feeling that the economy is back. And I think that if you look at some of these states that have been really hit hard, the economy is going to be important, but I think national security and immigration are going to be the top two issues.
Well, I think safety is a huge issue. I mean, I think that's the most primitive thing that we want as individuals is to feel safe. And are we going to feel safe with someone who can't keep her email secret,
Right.
or follow the rules that are just so general?
When we see an attack, you know, right down the road in San Bernardino, you know, it's hard to not kind of feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And speaking of feeling uncomfortable and a safety issue, people are all over the Donald talking about his invitation to Russia to maybe expose the Hillary's emails or hack in or whatever the word you want to use. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about that, and what's your reaction to that whole imbroglio?
You know, I think that was clearly a joke, right? I mean, when you think about it, it's already believed that those emails that Russia has those emails. So he wasn't inviting Russia to hack into them. It's believed that they already have them. And, you know, I think we just kind of be a little more lighthearted about these kind of things, right? I mean, he was clearly joking around. And,
well, some of the issues that were wrapped into the DNC, the exposure of some of the things that were going on behind the scenes, were actually leaked supposedly by the Russians, correct?
Right.
So they already have her emails.
Right. So there's these 33,000 missing emails from Hillary, right? She said she turned them all over, but she didn't. And, you know, it's believed that the Russian hackers have them and are just sitting on them. Yeah. So he wasn't inviting them to hack, you know, a server that doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, in fact, I'm surprised he didn't say, why don't you just bring them forward?
Right.
Because we know you have them.
Right.
We know you have them.
Right.
And I'm surprised he didn't actually jump on that a little bit more from the convention and the horrible things that, which is why the Bernie supporters were crying during the event.
They were weeping on the convention floor.
Because of the atrocity within the convention and what they were saying in regards to slamming Bernie.
Certainly, and in fairness, there's been a great deal of divide in both conventions.
Absolutely.
But is one of the big things, I feel like maybe one of the big things we're missing is the opportunity cost of not showing the way a leader reacts. This is part of Trump's kind of greenness to the political field, that when a bad thing happens, we look to the president to say, how do you react? And we follow in suit. So things like sarcasm and, tongue-in-cheek things. Are these kind of just early political lessons that Donald Trump has to learn about how to code your message in a way that's palatable to the American people?
Yeah, a year ago I probably would have agreed with you and kind of been turned off by it. But now seeing how he continues to kind of react the way he does and he only gets more popular, I'm starting to wonder if the American people don't necessarily put emphasis on acting presidential like they used to. I mean, if you look at it, he doesn't really act that presidential in terms of how we're used to looking at it, and he just continues to gain popularity. So maybe Americans aren't really that hung up on the responses and acting, according to conventional wisdom.
Well, and actually I was watching some of his speeches from 20, 30 years ago, and he was much more poised, similarly to the way his children even presented at the convention, than he is now. He's much more kind of outrageous, and I think he realizes that attracts. Very interesting.
He's a very smart guy, and I think he's thinking through everything he does. So I think pundits have been second guessing him for almost a year, and they've been wrong. Right. So I think maybe just kind of let him do his thing, and we'll see what happens.
Right.
Do you foresee him taking a hit because of this latest scandal? Do you see him taking a bump, or do you think this is just kind of one more bit of water off the duck's back?
I really don't. I really think that we keep thinking these things are going to bring Trump down, and they don't. He's got a 7-point lead at this last poll I saw. I think he's just going to keep rolling.
Andy, where do we listen to you?
You can listen to me on Tammy's Take on the radio. You can find me on Twitter at AndyMarkMiller. And youngcons.com, smallgovreport.com. I'm everywhere. Wherever they'll let me write, I write.
Great. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're going to say goodbye to Andy, but that's not all. We're also saying goodbye to summer, and along with it, some other people.
We have some of our crew. They're going to be leaving us, and we've missed them, and they've done such a great job. Next.